This section contains just one all-inclusive lesson where we model a phone stand. We cover a lot of ground here, and you start to see just how much you can get done with good sketching skills and just the extrude and fillet features. I've also listed a preview here of some of the topics that we'll be covering in this lesson. So they include caliper measurements, the sketch fillet tool, the sketch transform tool. We're going to be talking about sketch constraints and relations. We're going to be using construction geometry. We're going to be learning about a new, very useful selection tool that allows you to select multiple line segments without having to click all of them. We'll also be talking about driven versus driving dimensions. We'll be using the symmetric extrude end type. We'll be using fillets, and we'll also be using the spline and the mirror sketch tools. And of course, there's a few other things we're going to be doing that's not on this list.
So what I want to do is create a phone stand for my iPhone. So I'm going to take my caliper, and what I want to do first is just measure the outside dimensions. So that means the width, the height, and the thickness of the phone. So first we'll measure the width. These are all going to be outside measurements with the caliper. Width measurement, okay, so I'm getting like around 2.859. I want to measure more than one place. 2.858. Okay, so let's just round up to 2.86 for the width. Then for the height, we'll measure the height of the phone. It's actually easier if I set it down on the table. All right, so we have a 5.657. Measure again. 5.655. Measure again. 5.65. Okay, so let's go with 5.65 inches for the height. And then for the thickness, I have a case on, so you just want to make sure that you're fully contacting the case and the thickness. You just want to be careful where you take the measurement. Just be conscious of, there's a bunch of features, but yeah, so I'm just going to take a measurement here. We got 0.422, 0.42, whoa, 0.39. I'm just going to go with 0.40, okay? 0.40 inches for the thickness. Okay, so now we're in our workspace. Let's select the front plane, click Sketch, view the front plane head on, and then let's hide all of the planes. Okay. So first, I'm actually just going to sketch a rough sketch of my phone outline. So remember, we're in a 2D sketch, so we're not creating a 3D model. I'm just creating a side view of my phone. So 2D sketch, corner rectangle, and I'm just going to draw a rectangle. I'm also just going to add a center line. This will come in handy later. Okay, so we know that the height of the phone was 5.65 inches. And we measured the thickness of the phone to be 0.40 inches. Okay, and so here's a rough outline of our phone. And we can actually take it a step further and kind of round the edges, because that's what it looks like in real life. So we'll click on sketch fillet and select the 4 corners to round them. And then I can kind of use the manipulator here and drag that. I'm actually going to set it to 0.175. Okay. So there's the outline of our phone. And one more thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to use the transform tool, which can be found under the linear pattern drop down. So I'm going to select the transform tool, and then I'm going to select what I want to transform, basically rotate, and then these manipulators pop up and I just want to kind of tilt it. This is all just temporary, tentative, just to kind of place the sketch of the phone in context of the phone stand that we're going to create. So okay, 15 degrees sounds great. Again, this isn't permanent, so this is just an aid for us. Okay, so left click to accept. Okay, now we can start sketching our phone stand. Okay, so I'm just gonna start here at the origin. In this case, the location of the origin is not that important as in some of the other sketches that we create. Okay, so we'll start drawing here. This is the base, then we'll have the backrest, come down, back, down, and bam, finished. Okay, so there's our rough shape. Let's make these parallel to each other. Okay, what else? Let's set the thickness of the base to be 0.2 inches. Then I'll set this length to be a nice round number of 1 inch. Whoa, that looks weird. Excuse me. Okay, better. Then we'll set this to be 2 inches. We'll set this thickness to match the base thickness. So we'll set this to be 0.2 inches. And so what else can we change? We can change this angle and the height. So here's our phone. Let me move this so it's not confusing. So we don't want the whole length of the phone. It's not necessary. We don't want this to be too short because then the phone's not really going to be held. It's going to tip over. So somewhere in the middle. So let's see what that comes out to. This height currently is 3 inches. That's actually not bad. So let's just make it around 3. And now we have this that we can change. Let's set this angle to be 75 degrees. And a final constraint, let's just make this and this point vertical so that they line up. Again, these are kind of arbitrary settings, but vertical. There. Okay, everything's constrained. As we learned, we want everything constrained in our sketches. Okay, so here's our phone stand, and here is our phone. Now, to further help us in this sketch, what I'm going to do is create constraints or relations between the sketch of the phone and the phone stand itself. But actually before that, remember that we're using this as a kind of, as just a tool. We're not going to be extruding this. But currently Onshape thinks that we are going to be extruding it because it is a solid line. So we first want to just convert this whole thing to construction geometry. So to do that, I could click on all these segments here and select construction, and then it would start creating construction lines out of those edges. But since we're doing this anyway, I might as well show you another way of doing this. So when you have a lot of things to select and you're lazy or just want to be more efficient, what you can do is right click on one of the segments, click on create selection, make sure edges are selected, and select from this drop down, select loop chain connected. So once I select this edge, it's going to create a selection of everything that's connected to this in a loop. So click on it, and just like I said, everything that's in a loop with that line gets highlighted. Then we'll add that to selection, and so everything is selected now, kind of on the perimeter of this shape. And all we want to do is change it to a construction line. Okay, good. So here's our phone. It's now construction geometry. The area enclosed by the solid line is what's going to be extruded once we create our extrusion, but not this construction sketch. Okay, so what I want to do now is when we place our phone on the phone stand, what's going to happen is this edge is going to probably contact this point. So I'm going to actually create that relation. And the other thing that's going to happen is, gravity is going to pull the phone down, and probably this edge is going to contact this part of the base. So I'm going to select this this rounded edge and this part of the base, and coincident doesn't work here because we have a rounded edge, but to achieve the same effect, the relation we're going to use is tangent. And there you have it. This is now tangent to this, and once we move this, these two relations that we created are honored, and you can kind of see whatever angle the phone is resting on the phone stand at, those relations are honored. Okay. So once we put the phone down here, what's probably going to happen is that if the surfaces are slippery, it's not really going to stand here. It's just going to kind of slide down and fall. So we need to add some feature. Whoops. Something snapped to. I accidentally snapped the phone to the stand and everything's black now. So I actually want to exit out of that. So I'm just going to press undo or Control Z to get me back. Okay, so like I was saying, we need to create some kind of feature on our phone stand to hold the phone in place at the different angles that we want to put the phone on there, okay? Oh, something happened again. Control Z. Okay. So what I'm going to do is actually just create 3 little rectangles. 1, 2, 3. And accidentally snap to the midpoint there. Delete that. Okay. And I actually want all these to be the same size. So I'm going to select the height of all 3. Click on equal. And then I'm going to select the width of all 3 and click on equal. Now they're all the same size. Something funky here. We actually want this to be Sorry about that. Okay. So they're all the same size now. I'm also going to set the dimension of this to 0.125, and since they're all equal, they're all going to become the same size. And then we'll set the height to be also 0.125. Okay, so now we have these 3 tracks, and let's see what happens. Let's see how they work out with our phone. So if I drag the phone, we'll have contact there. That's good. Then let's say that angle is too steep for me and I want to reposition the phone. So I'll move it here, and the issue we're running into is we're getting interference with this first track. So actually let's reposition. So it looks like, okay, and let's just check this other one, and again we have interference. So this first one is good, but we need more clearance. So actually what I'm going to do is move this back and move this back a little. Just kind of space them out. Let's give this a try again. That's good. That's good. It's cutting it close. That's good. It's cutting it close. So actually let's just move this out here, here. Good, good. That needs more clearance. Try again. Good. That's good, but this needs more clearance. Good. Oh boy. Okay. That's good. That's good. All right. So now we have those set. Let's just actually give them dimensions so that they're not just floating in space. So the origin is a good spot to dimension from. So 0.62. Point 1.185, 1.185. 1.8. And just check it again real quick. 1. Good. Good. And that's it. Now, if you wanted to know what angle the phone is sitting at, what we can also do is create a dimension between the base and the center line and place the angle and accept it. Now, we don't want this angle to drive, we don't want this dimension to drive this angle. We just want to know what that angle is. So actually, if we right click on it and click on change to driven dimension, it means that instead of this dimension driving this angle, we want something else to drive the angle. Okay, so it's become gray, which means it's a driven dimension and it's not a driving dimension. So it's not controlling the size, it's being controlled by something else. So now if I move this and change the angle, this will change. But the upside is that we get to see what the angle is. So I move it and the angle changes and telling us what it is. So it just kind of tells us that, okay, if the phone is going to be resting against this stop, then the angle is going to be 73 degrees. If it's resting against this stop, it's going to be 64 degrees. If it's resting against this stop, it's going to be 54 degrees. All right. And that should be it. We can accept the sketch. So now we are ready to extrude. So we can click on Extrude. And so make sure solid is selected. It's going to be new extrusion. And we can click on the outline of our face. And let's do symmetric so that it kind of gets extruded equally from the sketch plane in the two opposite directions. Now, what about depth? Remember that we measured, my phone was 2.86 inches wide. So we can make it, just a little bit wider, for example, make the stand a little bit wider. So we can say, I'm just going to say 3 inches. Okay. So this is extrusion, creating a new solid. We're extruding the sketch we just created, and it's a 3-inch extrusion about a symmetric extrusion about the sketch plane. So that means it's 3 inches total, 1.5, 1.5. Accept the sketch, and there is, whoa, something's wrong. What's wrong? Let's see. Notice that our stops are not being extruded. So to fix that, we need to actually go back and edit the extrusion and add some more selections to it. So extrude one, right click, edit. And yes, look at that. So I'm going to come down here and just select these 3 profiles. And that's much better. Okay. And then we can click accept. And there we have it. Okay, next, remember that we were having some issues with clearance when we had I'm just going to show the sketch. When we had the phone in different locations, this issue that the phone got pretty close to this edge. So actually what I'm going to do here is create a fillet. I'm going to fillet these edges, which is going to round them off. Just going to round them off like that. And so we're actually going to have more clearance, just to be on the safe side, okay? So let me hide this sketch again. We'll go to fillet. And let's see, so default 0.2 is selected. That's probably not going to work. I'm going to select this edge, and it's red. So indeed, the 0.2 inch radius is too large for this, but nonetheless, I can just change this to say 0.05, and there's a fillet. Let's see what happens when I change, or instead of, fillet, entities to fillet, I can use this manipulator. So if I go to this view, there we go. If it's too much, it doesn't solve it, but you can use the manipulator to get a visual on the size of the fillet. I'm going to change this to 0.1, and that's actually a really good size, I think. And for kicks, we can just show the sketch and show you that, that will make a big difference. So this is something we do want to do. So I like it, accept. And then we can hide this sketch again so it's not cluttering up the space. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to add a fillet here to kind of round this out. If we print it like this is actually going to be pretty flimsy, but we can add a lot of meat here, and then it'll be a much more sturdy phone stand. So I'm going to accomplish this with a fillet again. So I'm going to click on fillet, click on this edge, and look at that. Isn't that cool? Woo! That's like fun. That's fun to do. I love doing this. I'm going to select 0.4, and there you go. That looks pretty good. Accept. Okay, the next thing we're going to do here is what I want to do is make this shape a little bit more interesting. This square thing is functional, but we can make it a little bit cooler, yeah? So what I'm going to do is kind of round this off here. I'll show you what I mean. Let's create on sketch, and we can select the top plane or this plane, which is the same. I'll just select this plane, this bottom face here. And then we can just view from the top. Let's create some construction geometry. So line, construction, we'll just kind of create that here. So what I want to do, it's a good time to use the spline command. So I'm going to create a point here. And so I'm gonna just watch, this is cool. So the spline is here. If you don't see it, you can click this drop down, but select spline. So I actually want to create a curve between this point and this point, and likewise here and here. So we'll put a point. Oh, see, that's the problem. So I actually can't select this point because we're sketching on this plane. But what I can do is I can select this point and convert it so it'll drag the point down to our plane. So convert, and now we have a point there. Okay, good. Do the same thing here. Select this point, but I need it on our sketch plane, so I say use project convert. Okay, good. So we have our 3 points that we're going to be working with. So click on spline, click on this point, click on this point, and then hit cancel. And this looks like a straight line, but that's what's cool about spline is, excuse me, you can do funky stuff with it. So that is a little bit crazy, but we can kind of bring this into control. All we have to do is we want it to be tangent. So tangent, select this line, select this line, select tangent, select spline, this line, tangent, and there you go. That kind of brings it under control. And then you can kind of further change that curve, but I'm just gonna Control Z, undo that, and then we can do that on the other side too, or we can just create a mirror to make sure that this spline will be the same as this spline. So we can say mirror, select a mirror line, it'll be this construction line, select entities to be mirrored, they're done. Easy. Okay. And then actually to So we're going to extrude cut this profile, but we actually need to create the profile, the walls of the region that we're going to extrude. So I'm just creating a line here, a line here, a line here, and a line here. So now we have the regions we're going to extrude. So now we accept the sketch, then we click on extrude. We could just click on these two regions. So that's what we're going to extrude, but so we actually want to remove that. And there we have it. It's going to remove. Let's do through all. Okay, accept. And there we have it. That's looking much better already, but we're still not done. Going to make it look even better. We're going to fillet this corner here first, and then we're going to fillet this upper corner here. So fillet, click here and here. Nope, not that far. Okay, we'll set this to 0.8. Looks good. Then we'll fillet this upper section. We'll set it to 1.4. Actually, no, let's do 1.2. Okay. And actually, that's it. Yeah, I'm really happy with this. I've actually printed this myself and I use it quite regularly. So yeah, there you have it. An object that we created just with some sketching techniques and then the extrude command and some fillets and a fully functional object that I hope if you print that you will like and use for many months and maybe even many more years to come.